Welcome to Unleashed, where MMA icon and power wrestling titan Dan the Beast Severn and Eric Carroll deliver a knockout punch of raw, unfiltered talk. Unleashed. Gear up. Gear up. It's beast mode.
Born in Perry, Oklahoma, you had to have been an amateur wrestler.
Had to have. Although I was tall enough, I probably could have started on the basketball team.
Well, no, I mean, again, I saw you at 6'7". I was like, well, yeah, you definitely had the attributes for basketball. But the fact that you did MMA and you also did professional wrestling, I kept thinking, God, the right fit would have been if he was an amateur wrestler.
That's my background. That's what I rely on.
Other sports, though, did you play? I mean, at the height, were you a football player perchance?
Yeah, I actually went to the University of Oklahoma out of high school on a football scholarship, and then I switched over to wrestling halfway through. Their heavyweight was academically ineligible. I just got done with football season, and they needed a guy to fill in. After I did that, I decided to switch over to wrestling permanently and kiss my NFL dreams goodbye.
Well, I love football more than I did any other sport. What discouraged me about football was if someone didn't play with my same enthusiasm that I had. So I was like a one-man wrecking machine. Nothing was going to get past me. I'll block. I'll tackle anything and everything. I'll tackle 2-3 people at a time. It doesn't matter. I'm going to plug that hole. No one's going to get by me. But when someone else doesn't play with that same enthusiasm and you lose the game knowing you did everything you possibly could do. Mm-hmm. And I chose the sport of wrestling because the definition of amateur wrestling is a team sport based upon individual performances. The team can lose, and yet I can continue on. I loved it for that.
Yep. Your hard work represents how far you go, 100%.
What was it that inspired you to get into amateur wrestling, Jake?
Well, like Dan said, Perry, Oklahoma is a very famous wrestling town. We like to call it the wrestling capital of the world. That was a bonus for me. My true motivation was I had 2 older cousins, Ryan Kringley and Kelly Kringley, and they're about 13 years older than me. So I'm like 4 or 5 watching them throw amazing headlocks and just win and seeing them get their hand raised. And so that was really like, it gives me goosebumps now just thinking about watching them as a kid. And so we moved from North Dakota when I was 4 to Perry, Oklahoma, because my dad was working at Ditch Witch. I think my dad actually did some work with your brother, Dan. I remember him mentioning that about 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Just random.
I'm going to say, which one?
He has so many brothers.
I'm going to say, I've got four other brothers, and I always tell people it's on a good note. All 5 Severn males went to college on full athletic scholarships for the sport of amateur wrestling.
Wow.
My 3 sisters went to college on basically full academic. So I always tell people I'm an athlete with a brain, and trust me, I've worked with a lot of dumb jocks in the past. It's like, give me an athlete with a brain any day, please.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to, kind of go in the other direction with that, Jake. Now, what got your interest in getting into pro wrestling? Were you a fan as a child?
To be honest, when I was a kid, up until junior high, I made fun of pro wrestling. Me and my amateur wrestling buddies, we would call it the fake stuff, and we looked down upon it. But then when I was in junior high and during the Monday Night Wars, I really got into the storylines and thought it was cool. I couldn't figure out how they were doing it. I was like, they're running, but they knew to duck, and it's just it perplexed me. And then I got into high school and got away from it, doing high school sports and whatnot. And I really met Jim Ross about halfway through my career at the University of Oklahoma, and he always said, "Get your degree, and then give me a call." And him and Jerry Briscoe, who's another Oklahoma great, Jerry and Jack Briscoe, both were instrumental into me coming into pro wrestling. And if you want to look up a badass, look up Jack Briscoe for sure. And so they kind of said, "Hey, we could offer you this." And I was going into finance. That's what my degree was in. And this was 06. So right when the financial collapse was about to happen, I'm so glad that I didn't go into that field at the time. And the rest was history. I got a job.
That's awesome.
Which career really came first? Or from going from being in college and being this amateur wrestler, football player, did you go into mixed martial arts next, or was it professional wrestling next?
Yeah, so in 2006, I signed with WWE. So I went into professional wrestling first.
Okay.
I was there until 2017. So I had a nice career, a career I should be thankful for. 9 years, good run, as they say in the business. And at that time, MMA was like becoming more popular than ever. It has grown since then, of course. Pro wrestling is more popular than ever. And so it just kind of dawned on me, if I wanted to make myself a bigger pro wrestler, that maybe I should go into MMA and test my waters. And I waited a little bit too long. I was 37 when I started. I wish I would have been like 30, 33. But I left WWE. We were having contract negotiations. I felt disrespected by their contract offers. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to leave. I knew my own value. I bet on myself. I did like a lot of independent wrestling. So pretty much, Dan, when I started MMA, I was doing pro wrestling full time. All I had was amateur wrestling as a background. I didn't know how to box. I didn't know how to kickbox. My kickboxing was horrendous. I didn't know any jiu-jitsu at all. And so I go to my coaches, and luckily I have world-class coaches, Josh Rafferty, Rob Radford, and I'm working with them 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And then on Saturday and Sunday, to pay the bills, I'm going to wrestle independent pro wrestling matches and breaking up my camp. And it was definitely a grind, and definitely times where I thought, I shouldn't do this. I should just go back to what was easy and like what was guaranteed. But I had great people around me. They really helped me through it. And it ended up turning out to be a great thing. I won 3 fights, and then I got signed with AEW. And I fought one more time since then. But it was just always something to make me a better pro wrestler, even though I wish I would have done more of it. Still got the bug, you know.
What I want to share with you there, it's great. I actually started my MMA career at the same age. I started
That's
at 37.
why I was laughing. It's you two are
I started
so
at 37, and you're not supposed to start at that age. You know, you're supposed to be retiring at that age.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it was. I was basically 37 at that time, and even even when I went to Stamford, Connecticut for the interview with WWF at the time, I basically kind of fudged a little bit about my age factor, and it wasn't. Again, I because I knew that if Vince knew how old I was, he would never want me because I'm too old. But just like you, Jim Ross really liked me, and he really wanted to have me on board. And then when basically when the ink is still drying on the paper, you know, some more conversations take place, a few more questions. Then Vince is all of a sudden like, he looks at Jim, he goes, who is our oldest rookie ever? And he goes, Dan. You know, but again, you know, I didn't look my age, nor did I act my age, you know. So it's like even now, I mean, just the last, since all the COVID thing took place, you couldn't get to any barbershop, things of that nature. Every one of my WWF matches, every one of my cage fights, that was called Just for Man number 45. I colored colored my hair, colored my eyebrows, colored my mustache, so that. But you got to understand the psychology.
Yep.
If you walk into a cage and you're getting ready to throw down for real, and you saw a gray hair, gray mustache old guy over there, you're not going to be as intimidated. But if you keep it dark and dastardly, you bet.
Yeah. That's pro wrestling right there.
It was,
Smoke
but
and mirrors.
I was my first profession as of the 1992 Olympics was professional wrestling. I jumped into that first. I started learning the psychology with Al Snow, and I used a lot of that same psychology where I could actually, no matter where I was competing at around the world in these MMA matches, I could get that crowd to start to hate the match. And now when they start to hate the match, they start booing and stuff like that. Now my opponent's like going, oh, I got to start spicing this up. I go, to me, I don't care if they're going to boo or not. At the end, I'm going to win. And I was never going to win the fisticuffs. I suck at striking. I suck at kicking. Just kind of just like you. But when they kept getting closer to try to punch something like that, that's all I look for is like, get a little closer, said the spider to the fly. Because the moment that you can clinch them out in the open, jam them up against the cage wall, or take them down, you have neutralized 90+% of their arsenal, and your arsenal is just commencing.
It's amazing. It really is. It's the greatest sport on the planet. It has a high learning curve, so like not a lot of people enjoy watching like the NCAA finals, but ESPN's been airing it every year, and I think it's been getting more and more views because of MMA and because of streaming platforms. But it's really cool to play that game of inches. Like, you got me, I'm gone. You got me, I'm gone. And how it affects your nervous system and how you have to control your nerves. And like, oh, you can feel that he's in striking range. I need one step back. And you can feel like playing that game with them. Okay, one more reach and I'm shooting this double leg.
Yeah.
And it's really cool too with MMA how it's not regular amateur wrestling. Cage wrestling is a different animal than just regular amateur wrestling.
You're basically you're in a very upright type of stance. I mean, literally, I always say Greco-Roman wrestling isn't really a great fit for cage fighting because you're upright because you're not worried about someone shooting at your legs. But then you can start throwing fakes so that as they bring their hand to block, now you lower your elevation, and then you fire right on in. Shooting blast doubles. A lot of times I simply just would do sweep type singles so that I would end up back basically around and just dragging the leg out for one of these, boom, drop right on the face. And, they're like, gosh, for a big guy, you're kind of fast. I go, well, worried about getting kicked, punched, or something like that kind of help motivate you, though, too.
Yes, they'll definitely motivate you. I love it when people say that to us, like, "Oh, I didn't think you'd move that fast." I'm like, "Did you just call me fat?"
But I mean, you being so tall like this, you got to have an incredible reach, with that. So, what is your reach?
I think it was 81 or 82. My knuckles drag the ground.
Usually, you take a person's height and their arm span is usually about equal to their height.
Yeah. I definitely have a body built for MMA. Long arms, long legs, no neck. So.
Well, that's a great attribute. Just don't want to be people getting that rear naked choke on you, things of that nature. Wow.
Do you wish you would have got into MMA sooner, Jake?
Yeah, I wish I would have. I contemplated getting into it around 2013. I just didn't have that kick to go and do it. Like I was still happy at where I was, even though I saw guys like Brock Lesnar's, guys like Dan who would come before me and did the same thing. I think my body would have held up a lot better. Not that I got banged up too much from it, but just the training is very hard on your body. And the moment that you take a break from training, that's when you're going to lose. Like if you're not 100% into winning this fight when no one's looking, then you need to stop. So, and I'm not saying that happened with me. I just made the decision to focus on pro wrestling for now.
the two, because again, professional wrestling, I actually felt like I got banged up more doing professional wrestling because, do it like practicing body slams, things of that nature. That doesn't feel good really whatsoever. Most professional wrestlers don't even realize they're doing martial arts break falling. They just simply call it bumping.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you land on as much body mass as possible to dissipate and try to tuck chin to chest so you're not banging the back of your head. But I don't even think that the professional wrestlers I ever worked with, they never taught me about, watch be aware of the head. I just came up, it was common sense to me, just tuck chin to chest and you're not smacking the back of your head, because some of those professionals, especially on the independent scene, they're crappy and there's no padding on it whatsoever.
Yeah, and a lot of time at pro wrestling shows, there's not a lot of places to warm up or stretch after the match and to like properly take care of the bumps and bruises. Just being proactive on it. It's a lot of, it's an entertainment show, so it's an entertainment backstage, and a lot of times it's just like not the great environment for doing it. I feel like you were very good at pro wrestling because you were so good at amateur wrestling. I consider pro wrestling very similar to practice or like drilling, as we would call it, and like giving your opponent or giving your teammate a look, and so he can shoot the double leg right, and giving them the feel to really know what's going to happen in the real instance. It's all very similar.
Well, what the marquee says, professional wrestling. Doesn't say professional kick, punch, whip them into the turnbuckle, clothesline them. I mean, to me, some matches, all you see is those basic things being conducted. Where's the tie up, simply go behind, take them down to the mat, do a couple switches, do a stand up, take them back down to the mat right there. Then he does like a far side roll or something like that. To me, give them at least a little bit of it, just so that they understand where the root comes from.
Yeah, tell the story. Tell the story of good versus evil. Make it clear which one is which, and lead me along the way. And you have to make it realistic. You have to make the counters realistic. You have to make them a certain speed. There's timing and footwork that goes along with everything. And there's things that you can really do to suck the crowd in if you know what you're doing. And then there's things that will make the crowd go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, again, the heel has his role. The babyface has their role. Hopefully they mesh somehow. And if they do the right things, the crowd is going to be with them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Jake, what age was you again when you went into the WWE?
Okay, so I graduated Oklahoma in 2006. I was 24 years old. And then it took about 2.5 years in developmental. Okay. Going from Deep South with WWE, and then I was with Al Snow and OVW for about 6 months. Al's a great guy. And then I went to Florida Championship Wrestling, where we had Steve Kern, Tom Pritchard, Dusty Rhodes, Norman Smiley, and that was like the beginning of their developmental program where they brought everyone in to Florida. I was the first ever Florida heavyweight champion for them.
And by so you said it took about 2 years in developmental. And did I get this right? Did you start off in ECW, the WWE brand?
Yes, I debuted in 2008 in ECW, like October, and then I won the ECW championship in January of 2009. And they slowly phased that brand out. But it was kind of like a they were using it to bring in younger talent at that time.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't really see you being in like an ECW type of a product whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't really I mean, I've done the extreme matches. It's fun to go out there and play with the toys, but it's definitely not my forte.
Well, highlight one of your matches that you did with him. I mean, because I always tables, ladders, and chairs. Was it like thumbtacks? Was there burning fire on the table? What did you do?
So this was 2009. So it was a different ECW brand. It was a WWE had bought ECW and was just using the name and solely. So it was just another programming show for them. And we very rarely had an ECW, like an old style ECW Extreme Rules match.
Okay. It was more like, would it be fair to say it was more similar to what NXT ended up becoming?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel. But, looking back to this, it had me wondering, Jake, like, what was that like at such a young age to end up on TV? And now all these people are recognizing you and getting into this industry. That had to be crazy, man.
Yeah. It was crazy. A lot of travel. I'm from small town Oklahoma, so the travel is really what I wanted. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to continue wrestling, and I wanted to make some money. And so I was able to do all that, and really enjoyed the run there. Made a lot of great friends. Had a lot of great moments outside of the ring with people there, people that I still talk to today. And being on TV for the first time is crazy. And I credit my experience on live television to being able to get into a cage and MMA fight, because you'll ask my coaches, my first fight, I wasn't nervous. I didn't need to be psyched up. I knew I had permission to go out there and hurt this guy, and that's all I needed to hear. And they were astounded by it. I was like, guys, I did live television for 10 years where they would change what you're supposed to do on you while you're out there. They would cut your time. They'd be playing ribs on you while you're on live television. And it's, once you go through that, I feel like you can handle a lot.
No, it's true that Eric, what Jake so just talk about right there. You got different, especially the guys that have been in the ring there for a while. They're trying to make you break character. They're trying to make you laugh somehow, break character, or something will go wrong in the match. But did it really go wrong, or was it kind of a setup to see how is this young buck going to take care of business here right now? So again, there is this like you're just testing your metal. That's all it is.
Yeah. I enjoy it. It almost shows me that you care. If you didn't mess with me or didn't say anything to me, you don't care.
It's a term of endearment, man. What's one of your favorite ribs that happened when you was in wrestling?
Oh gosh, let me see here. This one failed, but this one always comes to mind. There's a referee named Mike Chioda, a great friend of mine, and been in the business a long time, great career, knows a lot about the business. Well, he's a buddy of ours, so we like to mess with him. And rule number one in wrestling is if you get ribbed, you don't sell it. He never learned that rule. He would sell it, so we would keep ribbing him. And this one time we're flying overseas, and the day before I went to an adult sex shop, and I got a big black rubber, and
apparatus.
And I taped it to a bottle of KY oil that was over the 3.5 ounce limit for TSA. So in my head, he was going to be checking his bag or carrying his bag on, and it's going to get caught at security, and they're going to be like, "Sir, whose dildo is this?" And show it in front of everybody, in front of all the boys. Well, at the last minutes, he decides to check the bag, and me and everyone that's in on it is like slowly coming up to him, trying to convince him not to check it. And we didn't do a good job of being subtle, and we gave it away. And so he went through his whole bag, and he found it, and he chucked the apparatus at my head about 90 miles an hour in the airport.
I like that one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That had to be a good friend to do a prank like that, man. I mean, it's got to be a way of passing the time when you're back. Do they do many ribs nowadays? I've heard that they don't do as many ribs as they used to, but I've heard a lot of good rib stories with the current wrestlers.
Yeah, not like I'm sure in Dan's day. I'm sure they're more playful and lighthearted now. We would only rib our buddies because we were buddies, You rib your drinking buddies. Like we were playing dominoes with the Puerto Ricans, Epico and Orlando, and we lost the game, and we were supposed to buy dinner, but my partner acted like he had a phone call. And so then I acted like I had a phone call, and so we left them with the tab. We got out of it, but they kicked our butts in dominoes. So what are you gonna do?
What was that schedule like with you with WWE, man? From what I heard, it's just grueling.
Yeah. A lot of times it was 36 hours at home. You just come home for 36 hours, get home Wednesday, and then you pack up and leave again Friday morning. And so it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And if you weren't wrestling, you weren't getting paid. So you wanted to be booked as much as possible. Got to go to a lot of cool places. I wrestled every place on the planet. Met some beautiful women in different countries. So it was worth it at the time, but I also sacrificed a lot of time away from my kids. My son is going to be 13. My daughter's going to be 9. So, half of their life I've been away. So it's just something to take in perspective. Like, it's not for free. I am paying something to do this job. And so it's better now with AEW only working 1 to 2 days a week and being home more. Gives you a lot more time to find out something next. But it was really cool to see the world and to learn how to travel like that. And the schedule was a beast, but I'm a beast. Dan's a beast. So
there you go.
That's what we do.
Yeah, so it is a tough life. I still do it even now. I mean, almost every weekend there, I travel someplace, whether it's a speaking engagement, whether it's a amateur wrestling clinic, professional wrestling seminar, mixed martial arts, submission grappling. I work with law enforcement, corrections, air marshal, border patrol, and military. I was approached back in 1995 by law enforcement. Education system. They said, "Do you think you can help us out?" I go, "I don't know. I don't know what you guys should do in the first place." I go, "Bring me in, show me what you do. If I can't help you, you owe me nothing. If I can help you, here's my rate." And they brought me in. They showed me what they had. I go, "Oh boy, can I ever help you?" What is this? And if you saw it, you'd be looking at these are all the most basic fundamentals of wrestling 101. Just how to do things, how to take people off their feet, take them back down to the ground, collar ties, Russian 2-on-1s. They grab, whatever it's any kind of lapel grab, stuff like that. I'm like, these are all Russian 2-on-1s. I can always get off to the side of them so that I don't ever want to be in front of them so they can kick, punch, headbutt, or whatever have you there.
Yeah, grab your weapon. Yeah, it's really cool to see how jiu-jitsu and wrestling are necessities now for police officers. I feel like.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'll say that the wrestling is really good for the takedown, on your feet takedown type portion. Wrestling doesn't really teach you submission locks, although all you can do is slap on an amateur wrestling move and now turn it illegal. Oh yeah, it's a submission lock at that point in time. When I had Al Snow. And I think there's 2 other professional wrestling trainees at the time. And they had one old pair of boxing gloves between them. And so they're trying to punch and kick. And I don't want to be punch and kick, so I kept moving around. And each time I could get them clinched, take down, or put them up against the ropes because we were trained in Al Snow's professional wrestling ring. I'd slap on whatever amateur move, but now knowing that, here, tweak a little bit, illegal. When they scream or squawk, that was my submission hold. They got to the point that they were throwing the gloves at each other, going, "You go after him." I go, and I was actually being nice at that point. I go, guys, I've roughed house with my brothers more than that, On that note, did you have other brothers or sisters?
I had 2 sisters, and I'm the middle child.
Okay,
one older and one younger.
Did they get in sports too?
My older sister was an athlete. She was a swimmer, a softball player.
Did she have that same kind of height that you had? Because being a swimmer with that kind of height, that's an attribute.
Yeah. She's probably 5'10", 5'9", tall and lanky. No calf muscles. Yeah,
she's gonna be after you on that comment now.
She's after me already.
Yes, man. What's it been like being a dad for you?
Honestly, it's my favorite thing. I love it so much. I want my kids to grow up and be world changers, but I also want them to think independently. And it's so what a world they are growing up in right now, completely different from the world I grew up in, and everything is changing very fast. I feel very blessed. They're smart, and they're and they think for themselves, and they don't follow the crowd, and so
Good.
I got hope for them. My
Yeah.
daughter is 9, and she's just like me. She's going to be a world champion at something. Just I'm terrified of her when she really puts her mind to something. And then my son is an amazing rider. He's like the entertainment side, and then my daughter's like the sports side. So I got best of both worlds.
Was that hard for you being on the road so much, not getting too much into your gimmick?
Yeah, I'm pretty down to earth guy.
Yeah.
If someone would introduce themselves to me as their stage name and not their real name, I would bust their balls forever and make fun of them in front of people about it. Like let's be real. This is entertainment. This is not who we are.
Right.
I don't know. Just the way I am, I guess. But uh, of course it is. Of course it is. What young kid on the road traveling the world wouldn't enjoy that and get caught up in it?
Sure.
Absolutely, man. I know that would have to be rough and exciting at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up too, because I always say that when I started MMA in 2017, it really did help save my life. I was coming off the road for 9 years, smoking cigarettes, alcoholic, all the things. And I had to, if I wanted to be serious, I had to give all that shit up. I had to be fucking serious, and I had to get back into who I was. And the longer you do something, the longer you let the devil in, the harder it is to get them out. And so it was a very pivotal time for me. I feel like, and that the hard work and the grind and getting punched in the face and having to react and having to learn and just going down an uncharted path was so great for me. It like refreshed my soul, and it just like showed me like, this is who the fuck you are type deal.
Yeah.
And it was good. I mean, everybody likes to have a party, but that's not who I am. I'm the guy who wants to go fucking work hard and succeed.
Well, yeah, there's just well, again, I'll share with a couple of things with you there. Like when I was in high school, again, football, fall, wrestling, wintertime, track and field, in springtime. I had to deal with the track coach that if there was a Saturday wrestling meet and there was a Saturday track meet, he wasn't going to see me at the track meet. And it made him mad, but I cleared it because I would score points in the shot, the discus, and I actually ran the high and low hurdles. And but he understood that I've invested my time into my sport because that's where I've got potential college offers taking place.
Yeah.
So that's but the thing is, getting back to what you're saying, during the football season, my buddies after the football game is done on Friday night, because high school games all take place on Friday night. They're like, let's go out, let's get shit faced, and then go, guys, I'm getting ready. I'm gonna go wrestle tomorrow. I can't go out and get shit faced. I have to be on my A game here right now. And plus I got to make a weight class on top of this. So it's like going, no, I can't do this. No, I can't do that. Like, but then they hit you with all those like, come on, Severn, you're being a pussy, all this kind of stuff. And they're like, no, I have goals and aspirations. And literally fast forward, now I continue to hear from people from high school, people from college, all the various teams I was on through my high school years and stuff like that. They're like, dude, you stuck to your guns, and good for you, because look where you're at.
Yeah.
So, but injuries, the one, there's still some factors like injuries, those all take place. And sometimes, they're the ones that end your career in the process. So you have to be trying to stay as healthy as possible. And as a wrestler, there's been a lot of times when, you might break a thumb, you just tape it on up. Okay, I got to wrestle, with my thumb taped up towards my hand there now. So,
how's your career been with the injury so far, Jake?
Very lucky, very lucky. I've only had, let's see, 2 wrestling surgeries and 1 MMA surgery. I had my thumb ligament got detached in a extreme ladders match. I was hitting underneath the table and I just gashed right through it. I was trying to fold the legs and I looked down at it and I could see my tendon, and then I would bend it and then the tendon would go away. It was that deep of a cut.
Wow.
And then after my last fight, my not my cataract, my retina was partially detached, just partially. So I had a eyeball surgery in April of 2021.
Ouch, man.
Yeah.
That happened while you was in AEW?
Yeah, that happened with it was actually my 5th fight, the 5th fight. I think it happened on the first punch of the fight. It was this right eye. It's always on the first punch. You can see me like reference it, like they think that he eye poked me. No, he got me good.
Yeah. Are you still training with the jiu-jitsu and the MMA, even though that you're not competing?
Yeah. It's kind of like my church. I like to go roll with my friends, and maybe down the line I'll get into competitive jiu-jitsu or something to keep competing in some way. But I got a heavy bag in the gym. It's always my cardio, that and going for a run. And so I haven't sparred in a while, but I've done some shadow boxing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
But while wrestling with WWE, and this AEW starts emerging, and for so long people have been wanting an alternative, and we had TNA, and I understand that, but it wasn't quite to the level of what AEW was. How was that, seeing this alternative show up where you had another option? That had to be big for the guys like you that was in WWE, because for so long you didn't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really feel like AEW coming into the market in 2019 changed professional wrestling. Not only did it give fans another option, another flavor of ice cream, but it also gave wrestlers, and like not a lot of people know this about pro wrestling, is like we don't have a union. We don't have a lot of like contract negotiations, like most of us don't, because we don't have another place to go. It's almost like take what you get or leave. And I mean, that's kind of why I got into MMA, is because I was like, no, I'm worth more than this. So it's one of those things where the more companies that are in it, it's better for everybody involved. And it's really, really has been life-changing. The fact that they came in at the same time that I was looking, and it was, I don't believe in fate, but it was meant to be.
Yeah, it was probably a combination of fate. It was meant to be. And on that same note, professional wrestling does not have a 401k program. Okay, there is no, and there's no health insurance with that. And that's when your career comes to an end. I mean, it's what do you have to fall back on? You got to hope that you saved enough money, you invested enough money in order to carry you through it. It's not very many professional wrestlers are that savvy with their money, because they're so young, and that they want to keep up with the Joneses. They want to hang out with the boys. And again, it comes with what you were saying before: a lot of drinking, a lot of partying, and it doesn't lead to good things for you.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. This is entertainment industry in general, whereas like the longer you're in it, it's almost like the opposite of a trade industry or a regular industry. The longer you're in a trade industry, well, you got 30 years of experience. You're very valuable. You're in entertainment for 30 years. You're almost fighting to stay in it. It's to stay current, to stay hot for that next thing. And so pro wrestling is very similar to that. Like 17 years have been doing it. You would think that, there's something else that I've created a value in pro wrestling for myself, but it's like with entertainment, it's whatever the current and hot thing is.
I think the other thing too, man, usually, you know, the harder you work, the more you get, the higher you go. And it's like in professional wrestling, there's somebody dictating where you're going to be on that card. You know, it's not like there's much control of that in your hands. That's what it seems like to me hearing all these stories.
Yeah, I agree. The best players don't play. The favorite players play. And
Yeah.
that's frustrating. So you can work hard and it doesn't matter. But at the same time, there's ways to work hard in pro wrestling, you know, politicking and pitching ideas and also just performing well. So two sides of the stone. But,
Right.
you know, Dirty Dutch Mantel, one of my favorite people on the planet, always told me, he's like, Jack, he called me Jack because I was Jack Swagger at the time. He was like, Jack, you got two choices. You can either do it or you can start your own wrestling company. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it then, if you put it like that.
What was it like working with Dutch, man?
I'll put working with Dutch up there with the ranks of winning the World Heavyweight Championship. It was that important to me. It was that valuable. 40 plus years of experience in the pro wrestling world, doing it all, talent, booking, manager, just really an immense like experience that he's had. And he'll tell you all the stories just right down the road with him. He would never drive. I always had to drive. And then he would always complain about my driving, but I am a bad driver, so he has a point. But when we first got together, we were in Texas and we were on first, and he was like, all right, Jack, let's hit the road, get to the next town. And I was like, well, you know, the culture here is they usually want everybody to stay and watch the whole show so you can learn. He's like, what? He's like, you can learn more from me in 5 minutes riding down a road than watching this shit.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah. So great friend. He lives right by me. See him all the time.
Awesome, man. What was the main difference in like wrestling for AEW and WWE? How were they alike and how were they different?
Well, besides the travel schedule, we were just doing TVs for AEW, not doing any live events. It really comes down to the difference of the owners, the people who ran it. Kind of similar people, but at the same time, very different. I feel like Tony is a good person. I feel like the other place was just like we were kind of like playthings, you know, there for amusement type deal. But not my company. So
gotcha, man.
It's just different cultures, different ways of doing business, I would say, backstage.
You know, and when AEW first came out, man, it was gigantic. And I mean, it still is, but I know it was like one of the worst times to be starting a wrestling organization with the pandemic hitting. What was that like being involved in the industry when COVID hit?
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah,
we were on TV for about 6 months, really doing well. And then I remember we were flying home from Salt Lake and we got the news that the world had shut down. So for us, we started filming in Jacksonville every 2 weeks. So that made the schedule even better. I live in Tampa. And so we would film 2 days a week and then wouldn't have to drive and deal with any of the flights or anything. So that part of it was a dream come true. But the world shutting down on the other end is just like, I don't even think we can begin to measure how much that has affected us. I can't measure how much it has affected me because it certainly did. It was not the world shutting down. It was how people were reacting and how people were speaking and how people were just believing anything that they were fed. And it was just, you know, let's take a pause here and read a book. There's books about all this shit. Let's learn from history and not go forward. But, you know, it's all on purpose. It's all a plan. And luckily, AEW was able to get through it. wrestling in front of an empty audience sucks. It really
That
proves
has to be
how
really tough. That has to be tough, like, because you were so used to crowd reactions for things, and now when you have nothing going, it's like going, well, that really went over well.
it's so crazy. It was so crazy. I remember wrestling John Moxley in an empty arena, and there's just like nothing going on, and it really proved how important like the fans in a pro wrestling show are a part of the show. Like we need them there for the wrestling to work. Like we can do wrestling, but the real magic of it is working the crowd and getting
Yes.
them like going one way and then taking them another and like getting them all hyped up and having that feeling that you can't recreate.
Well, just on a professional wrestler's entrance, whatever music that's played for them, how they're dressed, how they're walking towards that ring, their body language. Are they stopping? Are they going? Are they interacting with the crowd in some type of positive or negative way? I mean, before that athlete ever gets to the ring, the crowd should really know, boo, we hate this guy. Yay, we love this guy. I mean, without ever saying word one, just your presence should speak volumes for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Jake the Snake Roberts told me, like, on your entrance, you walk down there and you stare at everyone and you stare a hole through their eyes. Like you don't look away. I'm like, that's some gangster shit right there.
Yeah, he was definitely the best at it, man. Well, I'm curious, Jake, what kind of person is Tony Khan to work with?
Yeah, Tony's a good person. Wants good people around him. He loves pro wrestling. He loves AEW, and you know he smokes marijuana with the boys. So
Really,
that's a perk. So like anything, there's ups and downs. He has so much that he has to handle with so many other businesses that I feel like AEW could be more organized at times. But I really enjoyed working for him, and I feel like AEW is changing pro wrestling, and that's because of Tony Khan.
I know you came in kind of after kayfabe had kind of already been, exposed and everything, but it seems like with, modern wrestling, the internet wrestling fans sometimes just, they want to get involved in everything from the booking, and they're very, very critical of what goes on. What do you think as a wrestler that you could say to the audience that is watching this and consuming the product that they might not necessarily know, that some things that you see that they don't, because it just seems like they've forgotten how to be fans. They think everybody's supposed to be bookers.
Yeah, well, everything is like information is everywhere now, so it's hard to really keep things a surprise, or even keep like AEW for the longest time would have a problem with our spoilers leaking, like before they would air. Like if we would film 2 weeks of TV, the second week of TV would be out on the internet, and so we did have a problem with that, but at the same time, I think it shows that fans are hungry for the product and they want to know more. I think there's an avenue for us as pro wrestlers to get back to working the fans and actually making them guess whether this is real or not. I think we should start running storylines on the internet, start having beefs on social media, make it completely real, even like keep people out of the loop on it and act like it is real. And you'll be surprised about how much viewership goes up when they really start believing that, like, hey, they really don't like each other type deal.
No, so social media is such a big plus to have right now. There's so many different vehicles to utilize, and so you got to be there. You live down in Tampa, Florida, but from Perry, Oklahoma. How long have you been down at Tampa for now?
Since 2007.
Since 2007. Is it okay? Is it for the wrestling, or is it for the taxation purposes? I know a lot of professional wrestlers that reside in the state of Florida.
I originally moved to Florida because of the wrestling. It was where FCW was. But when my dad was driving me into Tampa and I saw the Bay for the first time, I was like, Dad, I'm never leaving Florida. I'm sorry.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I always wanted to live by the water growing up in Oklahoma. I wanted to live by an ocean. And, you know, in the 90s, I thought that was California. And I'm so glad I didn't make that decision.
You ain't kidding.
And so I ended up in the best freaking state possible.
There
honestly.
you go.
No, it is. I mean, Florida, just they've got great things going for them. They got a great governor that's overseeing things. So no, it's a great state to be in.
Really quick before we let you go, because we're about to run out of time, man. But just hearing you talk about like having the beef on social media, something so small, but I was like, that is freaking brilliant, man. How often do you, as the talent, get to sit down and pitch these ideas to the creative team? Because I mean, that would be the perfect way to blur the lines. You don't know what's real and what's not.
Yeah, so like being able to pitch ideas is part of the hard work about pro wrestling. You got to maintain relationships with the people that can do stuff for you. You got to know the ones that are good at their jobs and who actually go to bat. So it's kind of like one of those balances you have to do, networking type deal. It's pretty easy to pitch to them once you have a relationship. And like, I think it's a great idea. Like leak something to TMZ, like, oh, a paparazzi saw this wrestler with this girl, but his ex-husband or her ex-husband is this guy. And then they start talking about this photo that the paparazzi took. And it's natural. And it's how the best storylines should be. But we should be able to do more, but it's not always easy to pitch storylines.
Got you, man. That is very interesting.
Social media. If people want to follow more of what you're doing, what kind of social media would you like to throw out there, Jack?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Real Jake Hager on both. If you want to talk shit about me, go the fuck home. But if you want, if you want to watch a guy who loves America, come to my page.
It's easy to hit that delete button. You know, just if somebody's like, "Oh, here, I'll show you how powerful you are." Boom, boom, you're gone.
If you want to wake the fuck up, follow my stories on Instagram, America.